Oh, welcome back. It's Nikki Clarke, and all right, we're going to try again to have another fabulous interview. We have our very special guest, Deputy Chief of Police. Hello, former Deputy Chief of Police Ingrid Berkeley Brown is going to be joining us. And just waiting for Ingrid to request to join. And let me see if I can join her. I see a wave. I'm going to wave to you. Let's see if we can add her. Ingrid, who's going to be joining us. Fantastic. So just waiting for her to show up on the line, and then we can get started. So those of you who don't know about the Nikki Clarke Show, the show is about transforming lives one story at a time. And we have people from all walks of life who come and share their heart stories. So pleased to have... Yeah, I see you. Hey, welcome.
Wow.
So good to see you. Victory. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just a technical thing. It's just one of those things we got to be patient with. And I'm so glad that it all worked out. So a very hearty welcome to the show. And it's great to see you. How are you doing? Looks like summer's been good to you.
I've been doing good. Summer has been, warm weather is always good. So yes, I'm so happy to be able to join you through the camera and the live setting. It's obviously my what do you call it? My tablet wasn't working. The cell phone is obviously the better option. So I'm here.
Yes.
No, I'm doing good. Weather is good. Having some fun time, just chilling and relaxing. So it's all good.
Yes. So you're enjoying retirement life.
I am. It's been good so far. It's been very good.
Excellent. All right. Well, again, Ingrid, thank you so much for your time, and I wanted to, give people an opportunity to really get to know you. I know that we had a chance to have a really amazing chat last time on the radio, but for those who are going to be joining us today, and maybe they have questions for you, we're going to stop in intervals and say hello and also answer any questions. But can you tell us a little bit about the amazing background that led you to becoming the former Deputy Chief of Peel Police?
Well, it's been 33, I spent 33 and a half years in policing. And as a background, by way of background, I think most viewers, I'd like to think, maybe know that I was born in Guyana, immigrated to Canada in 1974. Just by happenstance, I met a Black police officer from Toronto. This was back in 1981. And he kind of put that idea in my head. He thought that, made the suggestion, maybe you should get into police. And I was working, volunteering more so with probation and parole. So working with youth in conflict with the law. And I guess from my interaction with him, he thought that would be a great start and maybe something for me. So tried over a number of years to become a police officer, but was, wasn't successful based on, first and foremost, it was considered my weight wasn't appropriate to my height at the time to be hired. So I was disqualified. But I was persistent, maintained that. Went back in 1986, joined Peel Regional Police, and I tried several other services, but Peel Regional Police was the one that called, or the first one. So, jumped on that. And through that time, I've spent those 33 years, I worked in community services, race and ethnic relations, child abuse. Of course, I was a patrol officer, went through the ranks, and you start as a constable, the patrol officer, then I was a sergeant, staff sergeant, inspector, and a superintendent. And in 19, oh my gosh, I'm dating myself. In 2018, after 32 years in policing, 31 years, promoted to to deputy chief, and spent 2 years in that position, and made the decision in April of this year to retire from policing. It's been a rewarding experience for me. I like to say rewarding because it gave me an opportunity. I'm community oriented, and it gave me an opportunity to work in community services and race relations and connect with the community. For me, specifically the Black community. So I have a lot of, great relationship and work that I've done with the Black community, or that they've done with the police. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Would take a long time. I know we've got half an hour, so it would take too long.
Right. So big up to all the Guyanese People, this is a wonderful representation. Miss Ingrid is Guyanese born, and I also remember that your father was a police officer, wasn't that right? Yeah.
That's right. My father was a police officer. My father passed away when I was 6. So my knowledge, etc., of policing at that time, of course, at 6, you're a young child, right? So what impact, if anything, does it have on you? I do ask myself the question, was there some, not so much genetic, but some inherent thing that caused me to also become a police officer? Because it
Yes.
was really just my occasional meeting with this particular officer. My field of studies at the time was social sciences, because I really believe in, again, like I said, I'm very community oriented. That's what I do.
Yes.
That's what I
Yes.
am. That's what I do. So yeah, so perhaps there was something there. My dad passed away, as I said, when I was 6, but and my mom was not particularly encouraging when she learned I wanted to be a police officer. I was married at the time, but once I became a police officer, my mom got to see maybe the things I was doing, some of the opportunities that presented itself to me. She became a very supporting individual in my role. So
Right, right. And your mom must have been, an incredibly strong woman because I believe there are a number of children in the family, right?
you're right. There was 11, and I was the last of 11. And
So you're the
yes,
11th of the 11's
I'm the 11.
children.
You're right.
So yeah, I guess she had a lot of people to worry about, and then the youngest wanting to going into policing must have been something that she had to really pray about, right?
She would have had to, right? Because she had some kind of idea and knowledge that, policing, you're also on the front line of violence, and you could become injured, etc. So she was aware of that. But I think it's my courage I got from my mom, my strength, because she came to Canada as a widow. And, all of her surviving children actually also immigrated to Canada, right? So it was difficult for her, it was challenging. We started in the Wilson and Bathurst area where we live. And then as my mom got older, of course, financially, it was pretty challenging for her. So I grew up mostly in the Jane Finch community. And I can say of my siblings, we've all done well in Canada, and everyone's got, their own profession. Most of them have retired. Considering I'm the last, my only sibling that's still working, she is a year and a half older than me, and she's in the healthcare profession. She's actually a nurse. So she's the only one still working today.
Still working, and
Yeah.
another hero, a healthcare hero, during these
Correct.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned this a few times in your sharing with us, that you believe in community, and it's always been the community at your very core in getting involved in policing. And I've always believed that policing is a community effort. It isn't a you versus them kind of thing. It's everybody working together. But there's been so many clashes lately. Um, and I wanted, in fairness, for you, if you could just share how you're feeling about that in light of George Floyd and what's been happening with protests and the latest, things going on. How do you feel about all that is going on? Your reflections right now?
Um, when I reflect on it, of course, it's a situation that's challenging not solely for the police, but I mean, it's the community, whether it's the Black community or the larger community. I think the term allyship is what's coming to mind today, right? But regardless, Nikki, of what anyone says, the police cannot function without the support of the community, and the community cannot, needs the support of the police. So it's very important for there to be collaboration. Going back to time when what's it's called, the modern day of policing, modern father, Sir Robert Peel, he spoke about the community and the policing. It's one, right? The community is the police and the police is the community. And that is such an important thing to remember, but also to practice. And as police services, we need to practice that. And additionally, the community have to work and, collaboratively with the police and vice versa. We're not going to make progress if it's not a collaborative effort between the two.
Okay, and from your your perspective, because you worked very diligently in race relations in Peel Police, how do you think things are right now in terms of just community work and training to deal with kind of sensitivity to different people from different backgrounds? The police in the community. Do you think there's more training required? What are your thoughts on that?
I want to start by saying this. In 1996, when I became a member of our Race Relations Bureau, Peel was one of the few agencies that had a bureau specific to race relations. Having said that, it was only 2 members at that time. Today, in Peel, there's a minimum of, and I might be wrong off with the numbers, but I would say 10 officers working in that it's now called Equity and Inclusion Unit. So, there has been strides that have been made. Do I think more training is required? I think you can always do training. There's never any downside to training, but I think training can only go so far. We need to ensure that the training that's received is transferred into action.
Yes.
Right? So, training is, I will never sit here and say, no, don't do training. Training is great. And I speak for when I was a member in Peel. Every member of Peel Regional Police went through, what is it called? Oh gosh, I can't remember the term now. Implicit bias training, right? And that was a 2-day training.
2 days.
2 days.
Do you think that was enough time?
What's taught, because you can go for a week, right? But you have to make sure, you have to ensure that the content is beneficial, it's productive. There's no point in doing a week if you're not having productive quality content in the delivery of the service. I thought
Right.
2 days was a good time. Our officers today also, when they, again, back in my day when I was started, it was simply 1 day of training on, it's called incident response, right? And that's how you respond to certain incident. Today it's 3 days of training. So it's expanded. But on top of the implicit bias, there's always training on with human rights. It's not necessarily called race relations, but equity, diversity. It's in every core component of every training a police officer in Peel receives. So that is when they first start, when they come back from the police college, when they do supervisory training, so it's continuous. So 2 days is not a bad thing, because it is also continuous in every component of training that they do. And it's important, it's needed, because It is in everyday what we do as a police, but not even just police, just in community, right? It is about getting to know individuals and understanding certain things, how to deal with them, and maybe a bit about the culture. So it is in every facet of training within the organization.
Absolutely. And may I pause, Ingrid, just to say thank you for those who joined. Plan for Money, thank you so much. Navjeet Kaur, thank you for joining us. Home and Condo, thank you. Forever Music, Forever says, love your work ethics and so much positivity and truth coming from you. Stay in that zone. Thank you so much, sir. Ronchup, thank you for joining. And Nina, thank you for joining. Tony Shepard, Ito on, thank you very much for joining. And if you have any questions, if that's okay to ask, we're learning a little bit about your journey in policing and maybe some of the things that people might have on their minds. I think we're okay in a safe place to answer some of them. I think what I wanted to ask you now was, I understand there's ongoing training in terms of implicit bias, but in terms of wellness, and we know how important mental health is. How much is provided for the officers, and is it something that kind of like a mandatory check in and make sure you're okay, or is it something that's kind of an optional availability? Because as we chatted about before, sometimes you may think you're okay and you're in a situation where something happens that triggers you, and it can be anything, and then there's something that you're reliving, or maybe you're having a bad day and it's showing up in your behaviors at work. So these are really important things that we have to kind of be mindful of. So in terms of that kind of provision, is it available?
Wellness training is always available. Within the organization, there is a wellness unit, and members should they, and I mean, we have internal, but of course there's external agencies that are available, and it will be our wellness members that can direct an officer to those external agencies that I keep saying I keep still saying that feel that is collaborative with the organization. Should an officer let me put it this way: when an officer goes to a critical incident, he or she, and generally it's a platoon or maybe the members attending, our wellness unit actually reaches out to those members following that incident, and try to have debriefing and various discussions with those involved, just so it can be addressed. Should an officer then decide he or she needs extra time, whether it's time off from work based on what they have seen, or whether it's they need to reach out to maybe an external agency, the wellness unit does provide that to them. So the wellness unit is always available. PL also have what they call a peer support team, so that because the wellness members can only work so many hours, but there's always peer support members that are on call, and that they are also available to support officers who are in need or in crisis, or need some form of support. That's always available.
Okay.
I can also, I can also say that the officers who work in certain bureaus, like the ones that work in the Internet Child Exploitation Unit or even the Major Collision Bureau, I believe, and don't quote, I believe it's every 6 months, they have to go and see a psychologist. It's called the safeguarding program. That's to ensure that these officers are receiving the appropriate assessment following, every 6 months. It's just to keep them in mind and their best interests in mind.
Okay. Ingrid, going back to when you were, in the field, and I know that you're very much an advocate for the Black community, and I know that, and you said something so wonderful that everything you do, you always kept in the back of your mind that you are representing a community. As much as you're an individual, your behavior reflects the community. So with that saying, how do you feel now about everything that's happened? And there's a height in everything lately about reaching out to the Black community and having them recruiting them into the police services. Like, what would you say about that whole process right now in the height of everything?
What I would say is that I recognize there's demonstration protest out there. Some of the individuals participating in it, it's their lived experiences, right? It's what brings them to some of these. What I tell people and what I would say today, policing is an honorable, noble profession. I am not going to sit here and say that there aren't, bad apples in that group. And you hate to use that term, but policing is an honorable profession. I look at this and I'm thinking, I managed there 33 years, back in 1986. What would be the percentage of not even just Black, but officers from the visible minority community? Maybe 2%, if that, right? And there is things that individuals can do within the organization. I encourage people to look at what policing is about. And it's not only about officers on the road, but it's also about civilian positions. But even the officers on the road, that's where that as a member, and I like to think for myself, by joining, you too can be that voice in the organization for whether it's the Black community, the South Asian community, Indigenous. You can be that voice. You can be that one that if you see something happening that you feel is inappropriate, you can address it. You need to bring it to the forefront. And I'll also add to that I think it's very difficult for people outside of a policing environment. There's a significant number of reports that may be put forward. Let's say we call it a professional standard investigation. It's not always from officers from the diverse community. It's also the officers that are, like I was going to say, white officers who bring things forward that they found inappropriate. So, like I said, the word allyship is used a lot, but
Yes.
it's there. It's always been there, because we know, and I'll speak frankly, that as a Black person, at times you may feel some way, but then you're questioning it. Am I just thinking that? Is it really that? Is it just a perception? Right? But my perception is my reality. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
but it's always interesting when I see the officers from outside of the diverse community bringing things forward. So that happens. But so I'm not sure if I answered your question. I think I
Yes.
did, but yeah, it is. There were challenging times, but and I would encourage anyone who want to become an officer or who is interested, appeal, but any police agency. There's always an outreach bureau. It is an honorable profession, and once you're in the organization, you have that opportunity to make so much of a difference, because you can be that representation for your community and for policing.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reflection. So I guess the question I have right now, for people, the community at large right now, and I'm going to refer to an incident that happened recently in Mississauga. How can we, and I include myself as a community ally, how can we bring this divide back together? There's mistrust on either side. Where do we go from here in terms of putting this back together and having this collaboration happen? Because right now it's kind of moving apart. Where do we go from here?
That's, it is challenging times. It is challenging for policing, for the community. Um, I can offer my deepest condolences to the family.
Absolutely.
It is tough for me to sit here and say this is what I think we can do, but I think one of the things that has to be done is, and I do know because I saw the news release that the chief has sent out or prepared a message. I think he has offered his condolences to the family, and I think we have to start by acknowledging that as an organization and a community, exactly what you say, that there is that divide. There is that divide. What has to be done, in my humble opinion, is there's going to be a significant effort that's going to have to be made up by the police department to extend that. I don't know if olive branch is the right term.
Olive branch, yeah.
It is going to be an extra effort that's going to have to be made. But important enough to Nikki is that the community have to be prepared to accept it and get together and discuss it, right? I mean, if an effort is not made to do that, then that gap is going to remain there. And I mean,
and it's going to continue to broaden
and just widen. And I always say that one of the things I always worked on and I looked on, hence the reason I became a member of the Race Relations Bureau and Community Services, because I saw, and this was back in 1996, there was a gap, a gap that was being created, this chasm. What can we do? So it's race relations, but and on top of that, there has to be, people can't be disingenuous. It has to be authentic.
Yes.
Right? Because the community will know if you're not authentic.
Yeah.
So however they manage to extend that olive branch, it has to be authentic. People have to be prepared to listen on both sides.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If that's not done, like you said, it's only going to widen. And I know there's a lot of work for the police to do, right? Because seems to be, it's more and more people are bringing things to the forefront, but there's a lot of work, and it's just a matter of reaching out, but the others have to be prepared to accept that. And by accepting, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything, but Accepting meaning ready to come to the table to discuss and to listen, right? That's would be my take, because that's the starting point. That's,
Yeah.
you know, I have having done my master's in leadership, we talk about Cotter's eight theory, and it starts with a crisis is created. You need that support system, but the end result is the importance of collaboration, changing culture. Let's change the culture, as let's move away from a us against them. Let's
Yes.
work and do our best to become one, right? I mean, that is all I can say to that.
And yeah, and it's work, and it's
It's
work,
work.
but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a decision to make it happen for both parties, to have a positive outcome. But it's going to take a little bit of
It's going to take
um,
a work,
a
a
lot of
work
work.
and
Yeah,
time, because it's
absolutely.
not going to happen overnight, right?
No.
But I say everybody has to be very authentic and prepared to listen. You
Yes.
know, whether it's policing has to acknowledge, yes, we've had some incident in the past, and the community maybe have to say, yes, maybe we've not given, given you an opportunity to get to know us, or, we have had, but it has to be, people have to acknowledge their own individual situation before that, you know what I mean, that real authentic thing can occur.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I have met I haven't met everyone, but I've met some stellar, members of Peel Police who are always out there, who are always mentoring, from all walks of backgrounds. And I can name a few just off my hand who are just so quick to I can even pick up the phone and call them and say this is what's going on, because they've extended that to me and they didn't have to.
That's
It's
right.
just that they're just caring people. So it's really important not to paint everyone with the same brush on both sides,
Exactly.
and I'm talking about even people from different communities. We have to look at everybody individually. So yeah, work must be done, but at
Right.
least we're at this point right now where we can't brush this under the carpet and ignore it. It's a gaping sore, and we
Right.
have to really uh, get to pull up our sleeves and get this done. So
Yep. As they what let's look at this solution. Let's work on it. I just for me, sitting back here as a retiree and looking at it, it literally breaks my heart to see
of course,
that there's relationships that were built, but it seems like it's kind of slowly being eroded, right? But you just sit back looking to see that there is going to be positive outcome. There has to be, and
there has to be.
I know that there's individuals on both sides that are willing to do that, right? So I think
Absolutely.
the effort just has to be made, and we need to go forward. Yeah.
Yes, yes, excellent. Well, I thank you for those reflections, and I wanted to say that another thing that makes me respect you so much is that when you entered policing as a member of kind of a visible minority, you were also a mother, and you were the only mother, right, at that
Right.
time.
Certainly, in my group of 30 that started with Peel Police, I was one of the oldest. We had four females, and I was the only mother at the time. And my son was 3 years old. And again, challenging times, right? Because I'd never worked shifts before. But, I stuck to it, went through some challenges. But again, it's about resiliency, right? Stick to it, and you know that you're going to overcome, because you have to. I like to say, for me, failure was not an option, right? I know what I brought to the table, and it was important for me to have my voice and my message heard. And so, you stick with it and you manage, and that's, you encourage other individuals, and whether it's people who are mothers or parents, can it doesn't have to be mothers, but parents who question, you know, can I do it? You let them know. And also an age thing. I said I was one of the oldest, right? But you gotta encourage, and I use that to motivate and do my best to encourage others to join policing. Policing is absolutely amazing. I it's hard to really kind of um, characterize and express, because there's so much to do in policing, and there's so much that individuals can do. There's going to be setbacks, but again, it's about resilience. You got to stick to it, right? And you got to know what you want to do and what you want to accomplish and achieve, and make sure you stick to that.
Okay, I love that. Thank you so much. And I'm going to just pause again to acknowledge some people joining us. The Lizzie T Show says, "Hello, beautiful ladies." Thank you so much, Lizzie, for joining. She regularly tunes in. Ballet Creole joined. Thank you so much. Inca Just joined. Thank you so much, Inca. And Plan for Money joined. Really appreciate that. So we've been learning so much about Deputy Chief of Peel Police, Ingrid Berkeley Brown's background, her journey, which has been just an incredible sharing, and also a little bit of a reflections of what's been going on in the community, and just our own opinions of how to move forward and how to make everything work for everyone. So I guess that to conclude now, Ingrid, would it be okay for you to maybe give us a message of hope, inspiration for those of us who are kind of slowly moving into the next stages of COVID? A lot of us are now ready to go back to work, and still some of us are being challenged with, a lot of different things, joblessness, so many changes. But what kind of message can you leave with us before we go today?
I would say that, and if we're giving a message in terms of COVID, even what's happening in the community, I think one of the important things is to have faith in humanity, in the system. As people, and people being people of color and the broader community, we've come a long way.
Yes.
Even because COVID, of course, doesn't know colors. There's no barriers, right?
That's right.
So,
right.
We've come a long way. We've made it through this. We've lost a significant number, and my deepest sympathies to those members and their family. Let's continue. Let's have faith, because I think if you don't have faith, you're not going to be able to overcome this. We as a group, as individuals, as people, just need to maintain the faith and continue forward. We'll make it. We'll make it.
Awesome. We will make it.
I was going to say kudos to Peel for going into phase 2 today, I believe, or is it tomorrow? I think it's today.
It's today,
right?
Yes.
So, so there we, phase 2. So now we know phase 3 is on the horizon. So, yes, I want to say that. Just have the faith and keep it up. And Nikki, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity and just allowing me to have a voice on your show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been such an honor, and I really enjoy learning from you, and your pearls of wisdom. I embrace them, and I truly appreciate it. And I just wanted to say one other shout out. Lizzie T says, "Amen to that, and faith in the Lord." Awesome.
Well, thank you, Lizzie T. I'm with you all the way. And thanks again, Nikki. And
you're welcome.
Next time I know I'll do the phone.
Oh, for sure. Yes. So thank you again, Deputy Chief of Peel Police, Ingrid Berkeley Brown, for joining us here on the show. Thank you for everyone who tuned in, and stay safe, stay strong, and stay positive. And we'll see you on the other side. All the best.
Same to you.
Bye for now.
Bye.